The most lethal sniper in World War II is not someone who you would think of. A story that proves that you can do anything if you're determined enough. If you're new to our channel, check out similar videos and don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell. Never miss similar updates. In 1916, Ludmila Mikhailovna Belova was born to Russian parents in Bialatsarivka, a small Ukrainian town. Her family moved to Kiev not long after she turned 14 years old. She identified as a tomboy, athletically competitive, and rebellious in the classroom. She also recounted how, when she was a teenager, a haughty guy in her neighborhood, braggadocious, displayed his shooting range, aim, and marksmanship. She joined a paramilitary sporting group that specialized in instructing young people in weapon handling and military etiquette. Like many other teenagers of her generation, she quickly became an amateur shot and even obtained the Voroshilov sharpshooter badge and a marksman certificate due to her early intense ambition. The teenager assumed Alexei Pavlichenko's last name after getting married to him at age 16. The couple's sole child, Rostislav, was then born in 1932, but their marriage was soon annulled. She would nevertheless continue to use her ex-last husband's name throughout the rest of her life. After that, the young mother moved back in with her parents to continue her schooling and prepare for a future career while working day shifts as a metal grinder at the Kiev Arsenal factory and attending night school. She joined a Red Army sniping school at the age of 21 and enrolled at the University of Kiev to study history and become a teacher. International tensions are also increasing as a result of the continent's dire state. We had to think about what a new war would be like and when it would arrive in our doorstep, Pavlichenko recalled in her memoirs. She received a senior research assistant position at the State History Library in Kiev in January 1941, and she was required to travel to Odessa for a 4-month secondment. She bid her folks farewell at the train station, but her son clung to her hand and wouldn't let go. Her country would be invaded by the Nazis only a few months later. Duty demands Pavlichenko, who was 24 years old and prepared to defend the motherland, was present when the Nazis occupied the Soviet Union. When she first signed up for the recruiting process in Odessa, she wanted to join the army but was persuaded to become a nurse. Pavlichenko insisted on fighting, and the courageous women even displayed her accolades and awards to the cops. They wouldn't take girls in the army, so I had to resort to all kinds of tricks to get in, she recounted. The 25th Chapayev Rifle Division was where she eventually enlisted. However, the Red Army had a problem with the lack of weapons, so initially, the now private had to assist with trench digging. She had a fragmentation grenade before. Pavlichenko one day joined a group guarding a neighboring hill. He approached an injured colleague who was too weak to handle his firearm and gave it to her. She had the chance to establish herself. "My turn arrived to claim the firing position," she wrote. "My turn came to occupy the firing position. I lay there and watched the Romanians digging themselves only 300 or 400 yards away. We were strictly forbidden by the commander to shoot without his permission. I passed the word down the line, 'May I fire?' and waited impatiently for a reply. Instead, the commander sent back the question, 'Are you sure of hitting them?' 'Yes,' I said. 'Then fire.' A soldier was struck by the teenage sniper who caused him to flail his arms and fall to the ground. Then she saw another one and struck him as well. Career-wise, Pavlichenko was only beginning. Being a sniper during those fights was a very risky duty that necessitated infiltrating past enemy lines, frequently far from her own unit. In addition, he had to remain still for hours to avoid being discovered by enemy snipers. When Pavlichenko first came into contact with the enemy, she was so terrified that she was unable to move or even lift her Mosin Nagant 7.62mm rifle with a P 4x telescope. Then another soldier took up position next to her, but as they were settling in, a German bullet killed him. In the future, Pavlichenko remembered, "He was such a nice, joyful guy. Nothing could stop me after that." That same day, the sniper scored her first 2 confirmed strikes, successfully taking down 2 German scouts who were conducting reconnaissance operations nearby. Pavlichenko recorded 187 enemy hits in her first 75 days of combat, and she distinguished herself in the battle at Odessa. Notably, German officers made up 100 of her hits. The young sniper and her unit were forced to retreat when the early stages of the German invasion brought major enemy gains. Pavlichenko was later made senior sergeant in August 1941. After establishing her reputation and earning the Soviet Army's approval, she was dispatched to the Crimea to take part in the Battle of Sevastopol. The Soviet Army issued the order to withdraw in October. In the Battle of Sevastopol, Pavlichenko was given the command of her own sniper platoon in late 1941. She initially struggled since the freshmen thought it was a joke that their commander was a woman. She would, though, quickly gain the esteem and adoration of her co-workers, bosses, and subordinates. She remembered how the Germans would recklessly maneuver around the trenches in the first few days of December 1941, oblivious to the threat Russian snipers presented. The Soviet shooters, under the experts' direction, killed 12 Germans in 2 days, including 2 officers, but the adversary responded with a crazy mortar assault. For an hour or two, the Nazis fired 5-centimeter Leiter Granatwerfer 36, the light mortars that they kept in every infantry platoon. From one foxhole, we would instantly switch to another one that had been equipped in the depths of the forest, and from there we would observe mortar bombs weighing 910 grams exploding by our former refuge among the trees, lighting up with little orange puffs and scattering dozens of small splinters all around. I used to refer to such an enemy action as a concert of German classical music. Eventually, Pavlichenko was promoted to a counter-sniper, the field's most dangerous position. She managed to defeat 36 of the Axis snipers she faced, with one succumbing to his injuries after a 3-day pursuit. Pavlichenko had 257 strikes that were verified by May 1942, and the Southern Red Army War Council praised him for this. "I'll get more," she remarked. Despite suffering multiple wounds throughout the 8-month struggle in Sevastopol, Pavlichenko would not even consider leaving the battlefield for an extended period of time. She had been in the army for less than a year when she became known as Lady Death and Terrifying Hunter. The adversary feared Pavlichenko so much that she was repeatedly bought off. The Germans would shout commands like, "Lyudmila Pavlichenko, come over to us," over their loudspeakers in an attempt to entice the star sniper. "We'll make you into a German officer and feed you lots of chocolate." The enemy then turned to threats after trying bribery, saying they would cut her into 309 pieces, which was by that point exactly her score. Although Pavlichenko found the attention amusing and even enjoyable, she would never abandon her nation. The Germans finally bombarded her position in an effort to stop her growing score, and Pavlichenko was hit in the face by shrapnel. Her commanders insisted that she was more valuable to the war effort if she was alive. Therefore, it would be the last time she was injured in combat. As a result, she was transported away from the harbor by submarine and given the job of a sniper teacher. In order to rally support for the so-called Second Front, Pavlichenko, a Red Army hero who rose to prominence in Soviet propaganda, was dispatched on a tour of the United States, Canada, and Great Britain. Even more, Pavlichenko accepted an invitation to the White House and went there as the first Soviet citizen. She quickly bonded with First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt and President Franklin Roosevelt during their meeting, and they both supported gender equality. Nevertheless, the American media made light of the female sharpshooter and asked her absurd questions pertaining to her nail polish and makeup. "You have been hiding behind my back for too long," the heroine said in front of a Chicago crowd after tiring of the bullshit as she pointed to her total. Soon after his return home, Pavlichenko trained a number of proficient shooters. After the war was over, she at last earned a degree in history and began working as a researcher for the Soviet Navy. Despite the diplomatic tensions, she had a visit from her old friend Eleanor Roosevelt in 1957, and they both hugged, much to the displeasure of their guards. The sniper's final years were filled with pain as she battled alcoholism and post-traumatic stress disorder, in addition to losing a romantic partner who died in her arms at the front. Then at the age of 58, Pavlichenko, who held the ranks of lieutenant in the army and major in the Soviet Navy, passed away from a stroke. Her memoirs served as the basis for numerous songs and films, and she was honored as a Soviet Union hero and appeared on a commemorative postage stamp. In World War II, the Red Army recruited 2,000 female snipers, and only 500 of them made it out alive. And she earned a spot among the top 5 snipers of all time with a total of 309 confirmed strikes. Hope you liked this video. Subscribe to her channel to never miss out on similar videos.